So it's sharp 2 p.m. and I welcome you all the participants today in this wonderful webinar on experience sharing by listed IT company. Before starting, let me start with a wonderful sloka. Mukam karotu vachalam pangum langayate girim yat कृपातमहं वंदे परमानंदम माधवम. हे माधव, तेरी कृपा हो जाए तो कोई बोल नहीं सकता वो बोलने लगे और अरुणिमा सिन्हा हिमालय को लांग ले. सो हम सब में एक पॉसिबिलिटी होती है, एक संभावना छुपी हुई होती है. जैसे बीज में पूरा वृक्ष छुपा होता है, तो वैसे ही हम सब में एक इनफाइनाइट पॉसिबिलिटी है टू बिकम रिच, टू सर्व द सोसाइटी, टू मेक दिस वर्ल्ड बेटर, राइट? विद दिस इंटेंशन and with this intention we bring this wonderful webinar, and we have invited our today's speaker, Mr. Avinash Sethi. Right, it is not just a webinar, but I can say it is a second step towards making Surat IT hub, towards making Silicon Valley in the Surat. So we are into the process that this is the second step towards our dream. It is my occurrence that today onwards, your whole view towards the business will be changed. Before starting, I would like to thank Rakesh Doshi. He has invited Avinash Sethi from Infobeans Technologies Ltd, and he has taken all these things. I would like to thank Vishwa Shah and Alpetrada and Amar Pancha, who is the core supervisor for this whole Surat game. So Avinash Sethi is co-founder of Infobeans. They have started company in 2000, They were three partners, Siddharth, Mitesh, and Avinash, and grew software services business all these years, and currently leading these efforts on inorganic growth and fundraising for the same. So I have visited the company also. You can also visit, and it is wonderful infrastructure, and they have many people around them, and they are very happy in Infobeans. This was all about Mr. Avinash Sethi. Our country's vision is to become $5 trillion economy by 24-25. If you have the vision to contribute to the Indian economical goal by your business game, then we have pathway for it. If you have a right question today, then you can also dream it, and you can also chase it. With this, I would like to invite Mr. Avinash Sethi. Welcome, Avinash. Yeah.
Thank you all. Thank you, Chetan. Thank you, Rakeshji, for bringing me to this forum. It is my pleasure to help and answer your questions. Intention will be to give more time to question and answers and less time to my own commentary, because we learn more by asking, and that is why I'll be encouraging each one of you to write your questions and ask. And I've been told that last week Mr. Gopal Ramchari was there to help understand the IPO process. So I will not go into the details of what is the process, but I'll tell you why, our own journey as to why we started this, why we thought of this, and what led us to come to the market. So as Chetanji has commented that we are three founders, we all happen to be from Indore and all happen to be engineers, got trained in the local government college. And then we all went to the US and worked with big names in the US. When we started out, so I came back from the US, the first person to come back in 2000. We graduated in 96, came back in 2000, and started this company called Infobeans in actually March of 2000. We are first gen entrepreneurs. We learned everything during the course of the business. And eventually, gradually, we build this business, as most of you would have been doing, building your business one step at a time, and gradually growing from your starting point. So we started our journey in 2000, and we were inward looking. We always thought of ourselves as developers, as programmers. And until 2010, we used to program ourselves. I mean, we were writing code in .NET or in Java or mobile technologies and so on and so on. So we used to learn technologies on our own and adopt newer ones and continue to build the business. The reason I'm sharing this information with you is because I know most of you are in the same journey. So I want to give you that confidence that, we are just among any one of you, right? If we can do it, anybody else can do it. And I'm sure, and I can actually say that whatever we've done is still very little. A lot of, the sky is the limit. A lot can be achieved from India, sitting in India, and by entrepreneurs like us. So going back to the story, we grew gradually in the middle of the business. Each one of us took turns and did their MBA education. So by 2010, we were all MBAs also. Me and Siddharth did it from IIM Indore, executive MBA from IIM Indore. You have executive MBA in IIM Ahmedabad and several other IIMs, and Nirma, which is also a very popular college out there. So post MBA, post 10 years of working experience in our own business, we started to realize that it is time to expand and grow and be more aggressive. So we used to compare ourselves with Infosys and used to say that if Infosys is growing at 15% and we are growing at 30%, we are doing much better. So There was one NESCOM mentorship program that we attended in 2010, which opened our eyes and actually gave us a lot of clarity as to what we should be doing. So I recommend each one of you to conduct mentorship, to join some mentorship program wherever you find that. You need to talk to seniors in the industry who will give you the real picture of what you're doing. Typically, as founders, when we are involved in our own business, and typically in a city like Indore, when you're growing, you feel that yes, you are a king of the city and you have achieved a lot of success. So, you get complacent, you get satisfied with your growth. But when we went to this mentorship panel, the first day they actually shook us very hard. They showed us the mirror that the kind of growth that you're doing is not, it is minuscule. It is not enough at your size. At your size, you should be doubling yourself every year. And what are you doing in a city like Indore? Why are you not? We had an office in Pune by then as well. So their counter question was, why are you not in the Pune, which is the fastest growing destination in 2010 for IT in India? So why are you sitting in Indore? Indore makes you complacent, right? So we were faced with those tough questions, and founders need to be honest to themselves and to their own business in terms of addressing these tough questions. So we introspected, we started figuring out what are the ways to expand, and because of those mentorship programs and seeking out help from the experts in the industry, we started thinking out as to what all we should be doing. We were three founders, so we tried our hands in creating a product business. So we ventured out in a separate, one of the founders created a separate entity trying to build a product company. One of us went into a product company which we took majority stake in, and we tried to see if we can build and expand by way of three different businesses under the same umbrella. 2014, these efforts didn't materialize as we imagined. We came back to the services business and we started pumping energy and growing that business again. So by then we were growing at 30-40% year on year, and we were like, what's wrong with this? I mean, this is good. I mean, we should be growing, continue to grow at that size. But as and when we grow up at the ladder, from 10 crores to 20 to 20 to 50, 50 to 80, you start to realize that the growth from 80 to 100 is going to be much tougher than what it was from 10 to 20. So 10 you can double at that size, but now it is getting increasingly difficult. So that is when we started racking our brains as to what we should do now. So M&A acquisition was one of the ideas that came to the table, that if we acquire a company, we can grow faster. At the same time, if we invest in more technologies and we invest in more capabilities, go into more geographies, then we can expand. And again, we are three founders, so we can spread the bandwidth across the three of us and take on multiple geographies, take on multiple competencies. So with that thought, we first thought of going to private equity. And we reached out to several advisors in the country, in Mumbai, in Delhi, in Bangalore, and in Pune as well. Positioning our company and trying to seek 25-30% dilution and get about 20-25 crores in business. We were about 70 crores or 75 crores in revenue, I think it was in 2015. So we were seeking some help from these advisors to try and see if we can get a private equity. But during that time, the Indian ecosystem was very, I would say, hyped with a lot of startups, right from Flipkart to Ola to Oyo and whatnot. And every venture capitalist or every private equity guy would demand a much faster growth, which is not there in the services business for sure. So they would want to, make 10x of their investment in 5 years. That's their philosophy. Now, a services company cannot fulfill that. even the private equity were not interested in putting money into services company because they thought that the wave that Infosys, TCS, and Wipro rode is already dead by 2010. So what's the point in investing in an IT services company? So having said that, we, after a lot of effort, we finally landed into one private equity player. It was a family house based out of New York, and they came, visited us, we visited them, and it was kind of very close to term sheet. We were supposed to get the funding. But at the last minute, for some reason, they backed out. And they had some private equity investments in India in the IT services businesses, and they were not doing well. So it seems that they just generated cold fate and just moved out of that deal at the last minute. So we're back to square one. In 2016, we said, okay, let's not worry about it. We'll go on our own. We'll not go to private equity. IPO was not in our mind at all. We never thought IPO will be. I mean, we did thought about IPO. SME was out of question. We never thought of it. And the main board IPO was very costly. Plus, we were a tiny company for the main board. So we realized that it's not our cup of tea, and we said, okay, let's continue on our own path. We'll still follow the strategy of acquisition, but within our own resources, we could acquire only $1 to $2 million kind of revenue business. So that was the limitation we had at that point in time. By then, we had some relationship with NSE folks because we were exploring this private equity and IPO and all of those things at that point in time. So NSE, incidentally, one of the NSE member, one of the NSE official is a friend, and he's from Indore. He actually works in Ahmedabad. So, but he handles the Western region. So he came to us as a friend, and he said, "Why don't you try this SME merge platform? And it is useful for your size of company, and you are a good fit. You are growing well. You can generate some amount of money from the market." We didn't take him seriously. Then he actually sent a couple of advisors our way. And when we started meeting them, we realized that there is a possibility that we could go public and raise funds from the public. We started investigating, okay, what are the challenges behind it? What are the issues behind it? And one challenge is that is commonly told by people, which I don't agree, is that there would be a huge set of compliances that we have to follow, and it will be a headache, you will be answerable to so many people, and then you will be, you have to comply so many things every now and then with the SEBI and with NSE. We realized that when we looked into those documents as what is required, what is not required, we realized that the SME emerge platform is very, very relaxed. And from day one as a business, we were operating very clean. We had everything documented. We were very transparent in our financial management, because we are three people, and each one of us is accountable to the other two founders. So whoever handled the financial or the CFO role was following certain set of processes, which was agreed upon as a board. And we were very transparent, very high on corporate governance, and very, very clean business operations. So we found that these compliances are merely an extension of what you are doing, and it doesn't hurt at all. We probably will have to hire a company secretary, and the current set of team would be able to manage it. So with that clarity in mind, and with those challenges, we find that the benefits are much more as compared to the challenges, and it is relatively cheaper process to get into the SME platform. And the beauty is that you can, after 2 years, you can graduate automatically to the main board. So it is kind of getting an admission into a school, and after a couple of years of training there, you get graduated to the main board, which is a college, right? So we thought it is an easy and good idea, and the migration plan seemed simple to us. 2 years is nothing, actually. So as compared to the cost savings, as compared to the hassle, and as compared to the size. I mean, in a main board, the size of our business was minuscule. I mean, it was not worthy of going to the main board anyway. So we were ripe for the SME market, but we were obviously immature for the main market. So all of these analyses led us to believe that yes, we are a good candidate to go on the main board. And one important thing that came forward was, which also gave us a lot of confidence, is the confidence of the investment banker, the advisors, the agencies in between. They said that we find your business, good, very good actually. The profit margins are very good. Your growth is good, and we like you. I mean, they came to our offices. They liked the infrastructure. They like us as founders, and they also spoke to our middle management. So they got a lot of confidence, and they came back saying that we will, as a part of the SME platform, one big benefit for the participants, for the companies who want to list, is that the intermediary has to, or the banker has to compulsorily underwrite the entire issue. So even if nobody is interested in your business, but the investment banker is committed, he will have to ensure that the entire funding is secured for your IPO and doesn't fail. So that particular, clause gave us a lot of confidence that. Because we were wondering, who would want to invest in a smaller company like Infobeans, which has a headquarters in Indore, has a small office in Pune. Why would people be interested when they can buy Infobeans? They can buy Infosys. Why would they buy Infobeans? Right. So we had our own doubts at the start also. So, but we were very confident the business definitely has merit. We are growing faster than any of the big players. We have margins which are comparable to big players. So we are a good company by these parameters. We did our peer analysis also. So with that, confidence with the NSE folks, giving the assurances on the investment banker coming back to us saying that yes, I can get the issue totally underwritten and get it subscribed fully, gave us enough confidence to take the call and go ahead with the market. One thing that we, when we were doing this private equity exercise, one thing that we realized that if a private equity player comes on board, that player will have its, its own nuances and its own whims and fancies that we'll have to adhere to. That board member will guide and will probably force some own agenda of the private equity, because they also want an exit in 5-7 years. So they will want to drive the business in that direction where we give a profitable exit to them. Plus, it is another person sitting on the board doing the decision making with you. While in case of an IPO, you are accountable to the public at large. You are accountable to the regulators. But nobody is going to come and bother you in your decision making on a day-to-day business, which was a big freedom for a founder, because we've been running the business for the last 16-17 years, and the tuning between the three of us is very high, and we are also very strong, very close friends. So it was quite discomforting a thought to have assumed somebody coming in as a fourth person in the board meeting at that point in time. So we found that we continue to enjoy our freedom. We continue to have control on the business. We get money to go aggressive on our growth plans, and the compliances are not very, very big. I mean, for an SME player, I mean, even on the main board, when we moved to the main board last year, we don't think the compliances are too difficult to follow. Because we had that practice of clean corporate governance, we didn't find it difficult at all. So from SME emerged, compliances are very minimal, and then when we moved to the main board, we got habituated to the process. The team got habituated to the process, and they were very easily transitioned to the main board. So Having said that, I think this is the journey. I'll give you some data also. We raised 36.8 crores from the market. The IPO came at 58 rupees, 10 rupees face value of the share, 48 rupees as premium. The share capital was about 24 crores, and we diluted 25% in the market, which is the minimum dilution that is required. You can dilute more, but we never wanted to dilute more than that. So 25% is a dilution that is there. 25%, 75% is between the three of us, 25% each. And when we went IPO in May 2017, our March 2017 closure was at 84 crores. 3 years later, this year we closed at 164 crores. In between, we have acquired a company which is called as Philosophy from US, and the turnover that they did the last in their calendar is January to December. So December 19, they closed for more than $10 million, little more than $10 million. So that's the IPO money allowed us to acquire a company of revenue size $10 million. Remember, I told you that because without IPO we would have been capable of acquiring only $1 or $2 million revenue business. So that gave us a lot of impetus to acquire a much larger company. When we acquired, so our run rate was 20 million, I think. And with this 10 million revenue, we'll have now our run rate is about 30 million. So last year we closed at 120 crores, then March 20 we closed at 164 crores. So about 40 odd crores, not 40, about 36 odd crores came from acquisition of Philosophy, which is 2 quarters of revenue. And when we have like full 4 quarters, we'll close to about 200 crores next year. So that's the run rate we are running at this point in time. I don't know what will happen the post-COVID, because the revenue is suppressed now and people are all worried. Philosophy is also worried. We are also worried. We don't know how we'll end up at the end of this year, at the end of this fiscal year. But that's the run rate that we got into after acquisition. We also use the acquisition money, the IPO money into 4 other objectives, including geographical expansion, competency development, technology capabilities development, sales and marketing, and building the infrastructure for the expansion that we're doing. So in that, we've spread our IPO proceeds. All of that is consumed. I think the share price today would be in the range of 95 to 100 rupees. We still feel it is undervalued. I think one of the challenges of IPO or going to public market is the valuation is not as in our mind, we still feel we are undervalued, but in reality, it is a market who has to decide. But then which market we go into decides what is going to be your valuation. A private equity will certainly give you a higher value, but then the question is, will they really invest? A public market gives you lesser value, but then you have to build your credibility in the market. We were mostly hovering around 60 to 70 rupees for the first 2.5, 3 years. It is only now that we've started to, I think last 3-4 months, we've started to move up in 30 years. The market takes time to recognize your capability, your business, and give you valuation. And so that is a slow and a lengthy process. I think it is true for any player. Even Infosys at the initial first 5 years, they didn't get the value that they would expect. Today, obviously, they are much better valued. We also aspire to go to that kind of a valuation level in future, but I'm sure it will be only based on the performance that we deliver to the market and the value that the shareholders see in us eventually. So that's with that. I think I'll conclude my talk. I've already taken 25 minutes. Please. I try to anticipate and answer as many questions I can during my talk. Please feel free to ask questions, and I'll open the forum for question and answer.
Yeah, thank you so much, Avinash. So let's start with the question answer. We are ready to run, and everybody, this is now open forum for the question answer. Please raise the hand so Alpesh will unmute you.
One good way could be to put questions in the chat, so
Yeah,
that nobody has to wait. They can just type in, and I'll try to answer them one by one.
I request everybody to please write down your question in the chat box. And we have Amar Panchal. Yes, Amar, please.
It was really nice to hear from you. Your journey is really inspiring. My question is, after having the IPO, do you feel that you are losing control in a body, or people are already used to say that when you have a public limited company, you will lose a control over the company, and you will have to answer a lot of regularity, and you have to manage all the stuff. So in your journey, have you feel anything like this?
See, I think when we are small, typically the founders run the show the way they like. There would be some transaction which are not following the compliances or not following the legal route. But in our case, there was no such situation. From day one, we were like running it professionally. We were very clear in our corporate governance, and that is where we realized that if you are following the corporate governance, and if you are following the fiscal discipline, then it is a cakewalk. We don't lose control because 75% is with us. There is no board member coming from public, so that way, the day-to-day operations doesn't have anybody to influence us. Third is that we are answerable to our investors. So it is the same way that I am answerable to the other two founders. So it doesn't really make us any different or poses any extra burden on us. Okay, so I have another question which is from Najiket. If you had to do another IPO in SME sector, what you would do differently? Now, honestly, I will not since I'm on the main board, I will not certainly go to the SME sector again. But if I were to do it on the main board and I have to do a follow-on fundraise, I don't think I'll change anything. What we have done is we did roadshows with investors in Delhi, Mumbai, Pune, Bangalore, Mumbai, and then Indore. So, and I think in Ahmedabad as well. So we would continue to do the same process. There is nothing that changes. Obviously, we'll go for a much larger fundraise. We will be more aggressive in that space. We'll definitely demand for a better valuation if we can. If we have the strength in the business, we can demand that. But there is no new thing that I will want to do, I think. As I said, it is a smooth, straightforward process for us. So there's another question from Jatin. What are the common mistakes we should avoid which may affect before we go public? So I think preparation for going public would be anywhere between 12 to 18 months before you really go public. Some of the business which are solely run by a single founder, they typically have some compliances to fall into, or some cleaning up to be done in terms of the financials, in terms of the salaries, the way they are taking salaries, and all of those needs to be in line with what is the market requirement. You have to obviously have a 10 crore plus share capital. It is, I think, between 10 to 25 crores. And the typical common mistakes, I will not call it as a mistake. I think it is a decision that we have to make. whether, so I think one thing as a founder we'll have to, and it was a bitter pill for us as well. We took a lot of time to accept to that fact that you have to leave money on the table for investors. You are nobody at this point in time from the invest. So don't get me wrong here. You are doing what you're doing. You're doing good in your own segment. But from an investor point of view, if I am willing to put 5 lakh into or 2 lakh rupees into your business, I would, ask you each and everything, and I'll ask you, things that I should not be asking, right? So that is one. The second thing is the valuation. You would have to leave money on the table and let the market, give you value when they really see the credibility of the business. They see the operations of the business for a few years back to back, and that is when the valuation will go up. But and this is again, this is the general mechanism. There's no guarantee. But if you're delivering good profits, if you're delivering good growth, the valuation certainly will catch up sooner or later. But at the start, there is a huge discounting. So going back to the private equity example, when we were at 74 crores of turnover, we actually were anticipating that in that fiscal year. The private equity gave us a valuation of about 200 crores. That was pre-money. There is no concept of pre-money, post-money in IPO market or the public market. And when we got listed a year later at a much higher revenue that we generated in that fiscal, we were valued at only 140 crores. So that is a bitter pill that the founders will have to take and accept. And you will see, smaller companies in the market, they are actually very, very poorly valued. So that is one of the risks that you carry. And that is, I wouldn't say it is a mistake, I would say it is a challenge. But you have to choose between what is it that you are looking at. If you're looking at growing the business, seeking that capital. And also one more thing which is important is to note that once you are established as a credible player in the market, you can continue to go back and raise more funds. That will, so it is kind of a bank account, an OD limit that you're opening with market. That every time you need funds, you can go back and generate more. So that is how you have to think if you are looking at market. I would request, if there is, you can open the line of Jatin Dudat, in case he has any follow-on question. I have another question from Ashfaq. What is the recommended right size to go public? I mean, in terms of revenue. I think that is a tough question to answer. The market, I think usually, yeah, hi Ashfaq. I usually see 30 crores, 30, 40 crores is a good starting point. 100 crore probably is a limit, or 150 crores is where you should start to think about going to the main board. So again, this is just a, I wouldn't say any, there is no such guideline per se, but this is probably my thinking. So my intermediary, an investment banker might be a better person to answer this question. But what we felt once we went to the market is the moment we crossed 100 crores, we realized that we should be going to the main board as soon as possible, because the equity size is very little, and the SME market, the volumes are not there. But even though we are on the main board, the volumes are still not there. So yeah, I mean, I think it's a wide band, so to speak. You can't, unless you are, yeah, I think 30 crores plus is a good size to go into the market.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah.
Thank you. Jitesh, were you debt free and what was the profit margin? So we have always been debt free. Our profit margins usually is in the range of 14 to 15%, 14 to 16% PAT. EBITDA is in the range of 22 to 24% for the most part. This post this acquisition and because of this COVID, back-to-back 2 quarters are looking troublesome. So the margins will have a hit. I think the entire year will see that, but we hope to bounce back to the same levels. Was the first 10 years in your, this is a question from Amar Panchal, was the first 10 years in your business journey easy or hard? At which point you think you are now ready to grow global? So first 10 years are tough in any business, and it was tough for us as well. It takes a lot of time to build that business gradually, because in the first 5 years, people used to see us as a training institute. They will come, get some experience, and then leave for a bigger player in a larger company outside of Ahmedabad. Then we opened our office in Pune, and we struggled the same way in Pune as well. But I think after that, once you reach a critical size of, let's say, 200 people, then you start to establish your base. And then I wouldn't say it is, you don't see challenges that you were in the first 10 years, but then you now have new set of challenges. You need to grow business, you need to go aggressively, you still need to protect your margins. So there are different set of challenges in the first decade versus the next decade. But yeah, relatively, you don't have to deal with basic operational hygiene issues. The next 10 years is more about growth, strategy, vision, and direction. But the first 10 years is a lot more about operations. I don't know when we are ready to go global. There is no need at this point in time. But yes, whenever that is, we'll certainly attempt that as well. So next one is from Volcane Web Solutions. I don't know the name of the person. Employee profit sharing is good idea or bad? If good, then what strategy should it be? So you can't do profit sharing with everybody. You could do a profit sharing with few key people, which in the other way, you can also look at stock options. Stock options, in my mind, is a better way for a long term. Profit sharing is a better way for a short term. That's like the performance bonus. So you have to choose your battle, but you have to do it with very, very select few people. You can't do it with a lot of people. So that's what my experience is. You can open these lines, and if there are any follow-on questions, I can answer that. Please share more questions if you have. Meanwhile, if you allow me to share my screen, I have one slide that I probably will be useful for the entire audience. Okay, I'll share my screen. It is disabled for me. Chetan or Alpesh, if you can help me share my screen, please.
Yeah.
Okay, so I can do that. Just a second. I don't see my file. Okay. I'm not seeing the file that I need to share. Let me go back and change something. Yeah. So are you able to see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, so there are 2 slides. Let me see. Yeah. So this is a standard benefit list that is there in the, I think, websites of both the exchanges. Obviously, the easy access to capital, easier to list. One factor is that it is a low cost effort to get listed on the SME platform. It takes lesser time. You don't need to go for a full blown DRHP. then it also gives you a better visibility and I would say better credibility, because your financials are open and it is up for scrutiny for outside world. And if you witness that for a couple of years, people start to give you a lot of credibility. A new set of investors come to the platform. You start to make more connects in the industry. Migration on main board is very easy. You just complete 2 years and can migrate to the main board. It is 100% underwritten. I talked about it. Is enable liquidity for shareholders. This is another important point, that as a founder, where is the exit for me? How do I convert, unless I don't want to sell my company, I want to run my business, but I want to encash a part of it, let's say 5%, 10%, or whatever that small dilution is. There's no way for me to get that dilution or get that cash. So it allows, the market allows me to sell my equity to as a secondary and generate some cash. And there's another slide that is giving you a quick glance. So another aspect is that you can avoid unlisted space discount. So typically, but it is a double-edged sword. The market don't give you enough value, and the unlisted space also don't give you enough value. So which one is a better level is what you have to choose. M&A, you can do an M&A, use equity as your currency. If you are valued better, you can use that and acquire and give equity in exchange for equity to a target company. It is an easy entry and exit for high HNI investors or even private equity investors. It is an old slide, so there was no long-term capital gain. Now it is 10%. There is no withholding tax on buyback. That was another benefit. So you can buy back, and you can, now there's a buyback tax. So this is not applicable now. Unlocking value for founders, which we talked about. ESOP as a talent retention tool. So, somebody asked about profit sharing. You can use this in ESOP and see, typically for a private company, the ESOP doesn't have any value because there is no way to encash. But for a public company, you can always, the value is always visible, and it grows with the performance of the company. So that's a real, useful tool for key talent retention. I think another benefit is that you can get better systems in place. The compliances forces you to be much more clean and much more transparent as compared to the previous operation. So this is usually good for people who are or multiple shareholders in the business. So that's another benefit. I think I'm done with my sharing part. Okay, so this is another question from our Panchal. Is your company focused on certain technology only? Typically, IT services companies are not. They offer all kinds of technologies. We also have a broad horizontal where we offer everything in technology space for custom software development. So there is no such focus. One of the key questions that the investors will ask is, what is your USP? So I used to go back and ask, okay, what is the USP of Infosys? There is no USP of Infosys as well. They operate in every segment, they operate in every technology. So it is a business model of a services company that we do whatever a company, our clients want, and it would be solutions on all the technologies which are available in the market. So it's like, we are architects and builders who can build a house, who can build a community, who can build a commercial complex, a shopping mall, and a school, a hospital, whatever. So we need to be equipped with all the tools and technologies to do all kinds of stuff. So, there is no USP, so to speak. So Ashfaq is asking another question. If you can briefly share about how NESCOM was helpful in your journey. So we have been a NESCOM member for a dozen years now, and NESCOM has been very useful in many ways. One is it allows you to participate in the various conferences and forums that are there. We were part of that mentorship program, which was free for us, and it ran for 6 months. By the way, I'm giving back to the community by actually running a similar NESCOM mentorship program in MP, and we have done one batch of 4 companies by end of March. So we are starting another batch next month. So that mentorship program was immensely helpful in our journey. NESCOM also gives you one is it is a single representative body for the entire IT community in the country. It also has been now sensitive to SME companies, and they have started with a SME council, which is so I represent the MP region for NESCOM SME, and I'm on the SME council representing MP. Ashfaq is here, who is part of the NESCOM mentorship program that they are starting in Gujarat. Maulik Bansali is from, I think, Gandhinagar or Ahmedabad. He is representing Gujarat in NESCOM SME Council. We meet every quarter, and we also meet frequently on calls. So there's a lot of knowledge sharing that happens in the community. We get access to a lot of senior people, and the industry is such that if you go to an individual and ask for help, they will certainly help you. They will, if they cannot, then they will redirect to the right person. So it saves a lot of time for each one of us in our own journey and gives us good connect. But obviously, it is for us to exploit that membership, so to speak. So and every so in the MP region, we conduct monthly meetings where typically SMEs are facing challenges on sales, on fundraise, on talent retention, on security, or even on the legal side. So we conduct sessions with the experts, and since it is NESCOM, we have access to experts from all over the country. So there was a very successful sales session that happened in Indore, and that person actually did it in Ahmedabad also, and a couple of other cities also all across India. And the person originally is from Mumbai. So now we have access to experts from all over the country. So I think that visibility is useful, and since we are all IT players, we should be part of NESCOM. So Amar, there's another question. What is your long-term goals from here, Amar Panchal? Amar, we continue to focus on generating growth. We have money in the bank, and we, particularly in this COVID crisis, we don't sweat at all because we have sufficient reserves thanks to the profit margins that we have been able to put back into reserves. At the same time, the money that we raised via IPO, that gave us a good amount of breather in this crisis. So, it is a very comfortable situation for us. Our long-term goal is continue to grow the business, continue to acquire companies, continue to grow organically and inorganically, and go to the market if we need more funds. So that way, I think the platform is all set. It is our execution capability as to how further we can stretch this. I think with this, we come to the end of the session. I'll ask Chetan to please take the mic back, and I think Rakesh ji is probably up for giving summary and word of thanks. Thank you very much.
So thank you so much, Avinash. And the wonderful thing I like is we are going to arrange a session for what have you told about mentorship by Asfaq. So we will definitely arrange here in Surat also. Yeah. And so with this, I would like to invite Rakesh Doshi, who have taken all this pain to bring this session here. So yeah, Rakesh Doshi, please. Please summarize this, and I invite you for the word of thanks also, and then we'll conclude.
Okay. So Chetan, you want me to summarize also?
Yeah, summarize and what of things.
Okay. The good googly. Anyway, uh, Avinash, what I could gather from your speech is, uh, first of all, after a long time, I have seen you clean shaved and you look really handsome. Uh, and, fine. Um, it was good to know that before going to IPO, you had say tested various alternatives. That is, you also tried for P investing and some of the stuff like that. So out of that, what I can understand is, KP people wanted to have some. Of course, they could give you better valuation, but at the same time, they would have their own way to run the company. So they might have disturbed in your way of doing business. And vis-a-vis the another good point you found in IPO was that it was totally underwritten. So you never had to worry that what if nobody invested in my company, because you had right confusion that Infosys and TCS like player were already there in market who would like to invest in a small Indore-based company called Infobeans. But because it was underwritten, so you had no worry. So very good. Then it is just because you were totally managing your company in a transparent way. You had all the financials record in place. You had very good transparency among the founders. So all this came handy when you had to go public, because you were never afraid of the compliances, because it was just doing what you were already doing. So it is also a lesson for us that from day one we should be maintaining our books in a way that we are ready to go public, right? And again, I would like to congratulate that you have already migrated to the main board. So again, a wonderful journey from a small Indore-based company to SME listing and then main board. And now I'm always looking forward to you have GDR, ADR listed. Great. So, uh, Chetan, I guess this is more or less I tried to summarize the main point which I could gather. Uh, of course, I realized one more point that initially it was tough because it was difficult for investor to trust company like you. But you rightly said that even Infosys in its early days didn't get such a good response. So over a period of time, if you keep on doing good things, the people will certainly reward you in terms of valuation and all. And going public for you is a wonderful way of getting online source of funding. So that is also I could gather. So it was really insightful, Avinash. But before I thank you, Avinash, formally, let me talk something about Chetan. Chetan, we are really, uh, rather, I don't have proper word to the for the way your commitment, you are showing your commitment to the IT fraternity in Surat. Wonderful commitment, Chetan. And again, your vision to make सूरत into Silicon Valley, मतलब सूरत में सूरत को Silicon Valley बनाना जो आपका विजन है, probably it is your vision which drives us to bring people like Avinash ji, Ashfaq ji भी यहाँ पर है. तो मतलब चेतन, please keep it on. ये सबको एक अच्छा इंस्पिरेशन दे रहा है, तो please keep on doing. And now coming to Avinash, thank you very much for accepting our request. Your presence would certainly give inspiration to so many aspirant of IT people in सूरत. क्योंकि हमारा एक मिशन ये है कि अगर सूरत को सिलिकॉन वैली बनाना है, तो वी शुड हैव इनफ लिस्टेड कंपनी फ्रॉम सूरत. So the way you have said your experience of going public and being a listed company, वो काफी लोगों के लिए एकदम इंस्पिरेशनल है. तो होपफुली नेक्स्ट एक साल में हम 5-6 तो कम से कम आपके जैसे कुछ अच्छे जेम प्रोड्यूस करेंगे. तो थैंक यू वेरी मच अविनाश, थैंक यू वेरी मच अशफाक जी, थैंक यू वेरी मच विश्वा, अल्पेश एंड ऑल द टीम ऑफ चेतन भाई एंड ऑल द पीपल हु आर अटेंडिंग दिस. काफी अच्छे क्वेश्चंस भी आए हैं, काफी इंटरेस्टिंग क्वेश्चंस जिससे और लोगों को भी काफी कुछ इन्फॉर्मेशन मिली है. तो थैंक यू वेरी मच एवरीबॉडी. once again thank you Avinash. We keep on disturbing you क्योंकि जैसा चेतन ने बताया कि नास्कॉम का भी अशफाक जी के साथ में कुछ आपका अच्छा टाइम लेंगे. Thank you very much.
Thank you all. Thank you. I had a
Over
good
to
time.
Chetan.
Yeah, over to you, Chetan.
Thank you so much, Avinash. And we are really glad that people like you is spending 1 hour time with us. So your time and attention, all yours, and though you invested in us, so we will remember this is just second step for the Surat. So when we will bring IPO in Surat, we will definitely remember you first.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you very much. Bye bye.
Bye bye. Thank you so much. Bye everybody. Bye.